It's session number 9 of our 10-week journey to strong side splits. And today we're going to keep training to get strong at our maximum range of motion. And this session marks the end of the beginner section of the program. Now, we still have 7 weeks of training after this, so I encourage you, stay disciplined for that. But for now, let's start with today's session. It's so good to have you back for this new week and this new session of training. Let's start the session with our warm-up, 30 squats in 1 minute to warm up our quads and glutes. And as you've heard me say so many times now, just take it easy when you start a warm-up. It's not a race. The only thing you really need to get done is the 30 reps in 60 seconds. And of course, getting it all done with great technique. And that means that as you squat down, you really need to stick your butt out so your knees stay behind your toes. I find that if I don't follow that technique, then I really strain my knees. Yeah, it can get really painful, so be careful of that. The other thing you want to be careful of is your breathing. So as you work through these squats, you're naturally going to raise your heart rate and breathing. So if you can breathe in when you go down and breathe out as you go up, that's going to help you not to get out of breath too early in the session. Okay, next up we're doing 30 ham spines. Target muscles here are our hamstrings and spinal erectors. And you really want to start very light with these, okay? You've only completed one warm-up exercise so far, and that didn't cover your hamstrings, so just pace yourself into this. And like I said previously, one thing that can really help with good pacing so that you're not working too light and so you're definitely not pushing yourself too hard is to have intentional breathing. And that just means that you're controlling your breathing and breathing on purpose. So here for this warm-up exercise, it's best to breathe in as you go down and then breathe out as you lift up. So that way you're breathing out as your target muscles contract, as your hamstrings contract. Hopefully that helps you feel better as you work. If you feel comfortable and ready for it, you can start to increase your range of motion just a little bit. You can start to get yourself down lower. Just make sure your back's still straight. That's really important. Keep your chin up, look straight ahead, and keep your shoulders back. That's going to help you keep your back safe. And just as important, it's going to help you focus the work on your target muscles, your hamstrings. Okay, keep it up. We're almost done. So just make sure you're on target to finish all 30 reps before the next warm-up exercise. Next up, we're doing 30 elbows, knees for our adductor group. And remember, the exercises are sequenced this way so that we start by warming up the bigger muscle groups first, the quads and glutes and hamstrings. And then it's a bit safer and easier to move on to warming up smaller muscle groups like the adductor group on the inside of our hips. If you kind of struggle with this stretch because your quads are burning out and you're really getting tired, try to really get your feet out wide and then lean forward. Really try to tip forward so that you're leaning, so that you're really resting your elbows on your knees. Then your quads are going to do a lot less work and you can focus on stretching your adductors. Time for our set of side squats, and we're doing 15 on both sides. The target muscles here are the adductor group, especially the gracilis. Now, as I've been pointing out, everyone's going to get this exercise to work in slightly different ways, but you're still going to need to keep one leg extended out to the side as you squat down on the other leg. If it helps, try to lean forward just a little bit so that the stretch stays on your adductors more than your hamstrings. And as you work through the reps, I really encourage you just to take it easy and keep in mind that this is just a warm-up. Like I said before, in a normal warm-up, you can really increase your intensity, but the difference here is that we're working at extreme ranges of motion, pretty much your maximum range of motion. And if you're not careful, you could injure yourself. So while it might sound like I'm overemphasizing caution, I'd rather do that than push you into an injury. I really want to see you obviously not just complete this program, but complete this program and achieve awesome flexibility. And if you're not careful during these beginner sessions, if you get injured early in your training, then it's going to be really hard for you to get strong side splits. Anyway, practice the best technique that you can. Keep getting a feel for what works best for your body. Okay, you should be starting to feel really warm now, so it's a good time to move into our dynamic warm-up stretches. The first one we have is 20 side leg raises. And like I did in the previous session, I'm going to keep encouraging you to focus on lifting your leg in a controlled raise, okay? So don't just swing it. And of course, if it helps, grab a chair or lean on a wall to help your balance so you can really focus more on the stretch. Okay, so that you don't swing your leg, make sure you initiate the lift with your antagonist, your hip abductors on the outside of your leg. Even if it's a bit harder, this is part of the way we're training to get strong at our maximum range of motion. Another thing I do is use my abductors to slow my descending leg in the eccentric phase. That means I'm not suddenly dropping my leg, which is safer, and it also means that I get to train my abductors to get strong through their eccentric movement too. As for posture, make sure that if you need to lean back for balance, you still keep your torso aligned straight with your raised leg. If you lean forward like over your chest, sure, you might be able to get your leg up higher, but you'll also reduce the stretch on your adductors, and that's going to make a waste of the warm-up, okay? So as you lift your leg, make sure it keeps a straight line through your head, shoulders, hips, and heel. And the next warm-up exercise is our front leg ups. And our target muscles are primarily our hamstrings and partly our hip flexors. We've got 20 reps for each leg and a minute and a half to get them done. Now, as I really emphasized over the last week, as we do these, try your best to lift your leg with a controlled movement as opposed to a swing. And to make sure you're lifting and not swinging, try to use your hip flexors to do the work. Your quads are going to keep your legs straight, but your hip flexors will do the lifting. And just remember that we're still warming up, so there's no need to smash yourself. Control the leg raise so you're just getting a light to moderate stretch. You can always take it further later when you've really adapted to the program. Change over when you've hit 20 reps on one leg and begin the same work on your other leg. Another thing that you need to be really careful of is that you don't bend your back by leaning forward. If you really need to lean, then lean back a little bit. Of course, you need to adjust your posture for your balance, but still do your best to keep the stretching stress on your hamstrings by trying to keep your back straight. 30, 40, 50. Okay, great work making it through the warm-up exercises. Coming up now are 3 cycles of 5 exercises, the same exercises that we did in the previous session, but with 1 extra rep for each exercise. Remember that if it feels better for you, just start light and ease yourself into this. And then as your body feels ready for it, you can slowly increase the range of each stretch and the intensity of each contraction. First up, we have full side splits, and there's 18 reps targeting our adductors. Remember that you only need to do what you can do with these. Just go as far into the stretch as you can, comfortably and safely, and then start to contract your adductors from there. Now, a really important tip is that you really want to stay in the stretch. Try not to contract yourself out of the stretch. Obviously, when you contract there, when you contract at your max ROM, it'll reduce your stretch, but there's no need to take it so far that you completely remove the stretch. That's why I always say keep the stretch or stay in the stretch, because you can contract your target muscles while stretching your target muscles. Keep that in mind for all of your exercises. Relax into the stretch and then contract in the stretch, okay? So relax into the stretch, contract in the stretch. Okay, next up we're modifying our kneeling adductor stretch just a little bit. Set your stance long, and instead of resting your knee completely on the floor, we're going to try to lift the rear knee up and bear our weight as much as possible with our stretched adductors. That's the really important part, okay? You need to get your rear adductors working and helping to suspend your rear knee in the stretch. So raise your rear knee into the stretch with your back straight and tall, and then contract your rear adductor in the stretch. Try to hold that stretch as you lower your rear knee to the floor, and then repeat. Okay, so up, contract, down. Again, up, contract, and down. The whole time, try to keep that stretch. Now, this is an important point about positioning, okay? Firstly, you can't lean your torso forward. Keep your back straight and tall. Secondly, you really can't set your hips square across your front, and you really can't have your rear knee point straight down at the floor. If you set your position like that, well, it's mechanically impossible to stretch your rear adductors. You'll just be stretching your hip flexors instead. So you have to turn your hips out, not having your hips flat at the front. And you also have to turn your rear knee out. You can't have your rear knee pointing down. It has to point out even just a little bit. You'll need your stool or chair for the next exercise, the elevated hamstring stretch. Target muscle is your hamstrings group, and we've got 17 reps on both sides. When you've got your stool or chair, place your heel onto it with a straight leg. Then there's 3 steps for this exercise. 1, stretch your hamstrings. You need to lean forward with a straight back until you feel a stretch in your hamstrings. 2, contract your hamstrings. Okay, so while your hamstrings are stretched out, you need to contract your hamstrings by pushing your heel down through the seat. That's the simplest way to do it. And then 3, you need to rotate your foot and leg towards your center line and then out to your side, just like I am on the screen there. Technically, it's medial rotation in and then lateral rotation out. And it's going to help us stretch and work our hamstrings further than we did in the previous 2 weeks. So there you go. 1 rotation in and out is 1 rep. Okay, so again, make sure your hamstrings are stretched right out as far as you can go without pain or serious discomfort. And then contract your hamstrings in the stretch and rotate your leg in and out for 1 rep. Really make sure they're stretched when you contract them. Okay, stay focused on good posture and good technique. Relax into the stretch, contract in the stretch. Relax into the stretch and then contract in the stretch. And then when you finish them, move into position for the next exercise, which is our side squats. Okay, side squats, and as always, our target muscles are our adductors, the muscles on the inside of our thighs and hips. If you want to stretch your adductors more, try to lean forward a bit, like forward over your front and hips. Just take care with your balance when you do that. Okay, doing that should really help you stretch your adductors, but you also really want to contract your adductors, and you can do that by trying to push your heel through the floor as you come up out of a squat. Obviously, a lot of the work is going to be done by your quads, but do your best to engage your adductors. Even if it's just a bit, you'll still be training your adductors to be strong at their maximum range of motion. Another thing is, really don't just rush through these. If you just race through these exercises and completely miss the target muscle of each stretching exercise, you probably won't achieve your goal of strong side splits, okay? You really need to be conscious and aware of your training and make your reps intelligent reps, right? Intelligent reps so you know what you're doing and that you know your training is going to take you to strong side splits. And last exercise for this cycle, the seated adductor stretch, targeting our adductors on the inside of our thighs and hips. When you're seated with your knees wide, you can use your abductors to pull your knees down and wide. And then when you're in the stretch, when your adductors on the inside are stretched, use the same muscles to contract. So use your stretched adductors to contract. That's 1 rep, so just continue carefully all the way to finish your set. Just remember you can try different positions for this, seated upright with your elbows on your knees, or seated straight up with no elbows, or lying all the way back. Whatever works best for you. We're about to finish the first cycle of our exercises, and when we do, we'll repeat the exercises with another 2 cycles, starting again with full side splits. Make sure you're positioned as safely as possible, and I'll count you through your 18 reps. Okay, 1 and 2 and 3, focus on great technique. 4, 5, 6, 7. Try not to rush the contractions. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Contract in the stretch. 15, 16, 17, 1 more, 18. Okay, great work completing your second set of full splits. Take your time to move safely out of this stretch and into the next stretch, which is a kneeling adductor stretch. Kneeling adductors again, and we have 18 reps for both legs targeting our adductors. Remember the stretch technique as we work through these, and let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Okay, excellent work with the first leg. Let's finish the other leg now. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, last one, 18. Okay, all done for that set. Great work. Let's take the time to ease out of this stretch and move into our next stretch, the elevated hamstring stretch. Okay, elevated hamstring stretch, and this is another exercise that we have to work both legs, 18 reps each, targeting our hamstrings. Just make sure you contract your hamstrings in the stretch, okay? Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, last one, 18. Great job. Let's change over legs now and finish the set. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, we're halfway, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, stay focused, 15, 16, 17, one more, 18, done. Great work finishing your elevated roll hamstring stretch. Let's use this time to get ready for our next stretching exercise, the side squats. Okay, feet wide for our set of side squats now, and we've got 18 reps for both sides, and we're targeting our adductors. Keep that in mind so that you really try your best to stretch and contract your adductors as we work through the set. Okay, 1 and 1, 2 and 2, 3 and 3, 4 and 4, 5 and 5, 6 and 6, 7 and 7, 8 and 8, 9 and 9, 10 and 10, 11 and 11, 12 and 12, 13 and 13, 14 and 14, 15 and 15, 16 and 16, 17 and 17, last one coming up, 18 and 18. Great work with your side squats. Take your time to ease out of the position and then start to get ready for the next exercise, the seated adductor stretch. Time for the last exercise of the set, and that's 18 reps of our seated adductor stretch. And our target muscle here is our adductor group. Remember that we want to contract our target muscle in the stretch, okay? Let's start. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, halfway, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, last one, 18. Okay, great work finishing the second cycle of exercises. Let's use this time to get ready for our final cycle of exercises, starting with our final set of full side splits. Okay, 18 reps of our full side splits. Let's go. 1 and 2 and 3. Focus on great technique. 4, 5, 6, 7. Try not to rush the contractions. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Contract in the stretch. 15, 16, 17. One more. 18. Okay, great work finishing your third and final set of full splits. Take your time to move safely out of this stretch and into the next stretch, which is a kneeling adductor stretch. Kneeling adductors again, and we have 18 reps for both legs targeting our adductors. Remember the stretch technique as we work through these, and let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Okay, excellent work with the first leg. Let's finish the other leg now. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, last one, 18. Okay, all done for that set. Great work. Let's take the time to ease out of this stretch and move into our next stretch, the elevated hamstring stretch. Okay, elevated hamstring stretch, and this is another exercise that we have to work both legs, 18 reps each, targeting our hamstrings. Just make sure you contract your hamstrings in the stretch, okay? Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Last one, 18. Great job. Let's change over legs now and finish the set. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We're halfway. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. One more. 18. Done. Great work finishing your elevated roll hamstring stretch. Let's use this time to get ready for our next stretching exercise, the side squats. Okay, feet wide for our set of side squats now, and we've got 18 reps for both sides, and we're targeting our adductors. Keep that in mind so that you really try your best to stretch and contract your adductors as we work through the set. Okay, 1 and 1, 2 and 2, 3 and 3, 4 and 4, 5 and 5, 6 and 6, 7 and 7, 8 and 8, 9 and 9, 10 and 10, 11 and 11, 12 and 12, 13 and 13, 14 and 14, 15 and 15, 16 and 16, 17 and 17, last one coming up, 18 and 18. Great work finishing your last set of side squats. Let's start to get ready for the very last exercise for the session, our seated adductor stretch. Time for our very last exercise, okay? 18 reps of our seated adductor stretch. And when you're ready and comfortable, let's start. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, halfway, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, last one, 18. Okay, that's it. You've just completed another session of strong side splits training, and with that, when you recover from the workout, you'll have some extra strength available at your maximum range of motion. On top of that, you'll be just a little bit closer to full side splits. And today's tip, just like yesterday's tip, is in regards to intelligent repetition again, specifically intensity. And when we talk about intensity, we mean a concentrated sort of power, right? Concentrated force. So intensity in the context of general training is where your efforts are very concentrated, very focused on your training. So if you were doing a simple bicep curl, for example, for bicep hypertrophy, you would focus your physical and mental effort on the best technique, right? The best technique that would do the most beneficial damage to your bicep. You wouldn't be vaguely swinging the weight around and engaging every other muscle. Of course, you'd be training with a sharp mental intensity and a focused physical intensity. And that's how it is for your strong side splits training. At least that's how it can be now that you've completed the beginner section of the program, because I'm pretty sure the main thing I've really stressed so far, the main thing I've encouraged, is that you take it easy and that you don't push yourself too hard. But now that you've completed 3 weeks of training, you should have a basic foundation of strength and flexibility in the main muscles that we've targeted. So with that, I think you'll now objectively experience the following 3 things. Number 1, increased strength. Number 2, increased flexibility. And number 3, reduced recovery time. And with those improvements, and you need to assess this yourself, I think you really should be able to start to really increase the intensity of your training as we move into the intermediate section of the program. Again, assess yourself and make sure you feel ready, and if you can, start to really increase your range of motion in your stretches, especially between contractions, and also increase the intensity of the muscle contractions for each rep. Okay, so it's really great that you've completed the beginner section. Well done. Next week, we'll start the intermediate section, where I'll really encourage you to increase the intensity of your strong side splits training.